and today I'll be profiling a few of my Infernoids. I'm going to do a little bit of an explanation at the end, so if you're kind of confused as to how Infernoids work, we'll do it afterwards, so that we can just throw those who want to see it, we'll just power through it, and then at the end we'll do a little bit more of an explanation. Starting off with the monsters, we run 3 Onuncu, or as I like to call them, is Onuncu, and we run triple Devyaty as well, triple Attondel, run triple Seitsemas, 1 Sjette for your trap target, triple Patrulea because we don't like back row, triple Harmadik because he's pretty good, double Antra because compulsing is pretty darn nice, 1 Pirmais, or excuse me, 2 Pirmais, and then of course we run the triple Decatron for our normal summonable monsters, as well as triple Fairy Tale Snow. I used to only have Snow at 2. But 3 just kind of allows you to see a little bit more, and it's a decent normal summonable target, and it's not that bad if you actually run into it. It's pretty good. Moving on to our spells, we run triple Void Imagination. This is kind of a nice little fun part of the deck, and that lets you fusion summon, send stuff to grave, gets your Infernoids dumped real quick. And then it has the nice little effect of making all your levels 1. So there's a nice, cute little interaction I have with the extra deck with that aspect. Next, we run triple Void Vanishment. Now this is, you definitely want to see this turn 1. It helps you set up for your Void Feast, but it's great as well as just keeping on there to have an additional monster. The second effect is really nice, is that you get to banish the monster that does battle with it on the Infernoid, so it's pretty darn cool in that aspect. Run triple Void Seer because it's nice and can kind of combo off a Void Feast. I like to have protection as much as possible. It's protection on field and in grave, so doesn't mind if it's sent to the graveyard. It's pretty cool. Moving on to our dumpers, we run 1 Reasoning, 1 Future Fusion, 1 Monster Gate, and 1 that the grass looks greener. Now, like, the interesting aspect about this is, yeah, they say grass is dead, or grass was knocked down to 1, so the deck is dead, but it has 4 different ways to dump it, plus additional some other ways, but this is like your primary focus. If you see one of these in your opening hand, you're feeling pretty comfortable about yourself. But I think it still has a pretty darn support. Now, yes, I do, again, fear the Ash, because left arm offering is definitely something I try and put in here and still, because just seeing one of those is so super nice. I would definitely like a suggestions to swap out left arm offering with, but for like a side deck or even to main it. But so let me know in the description down below or in the comments. But yeah, I definitely run 3. Next, I run a Dark Hole and Raigeki because board clearance is pretty darn nice. You can punch in for those games. Getting rid of the back row, run triple Twin Twisters. You don't mind discarding stuff from your hand, so it's pretty nice to have at 3. Foolish Burial to send whatever Infernoid you want to the grave. It's pretty darn cool. 1 for your power Decatron. Pretty darn cool. Pot of Acquisitiveness. This is a nice little reset button. Whenever you banish all your stuff for your Infernoids, you get to shuffle them back into your deck and then draw 1. Additionally, we got our second Burial from a different dimension back, so it's pretty darn nice to be able to just recur. Like if you have one of your 6, 7, or 8, or 5, 6, 7, or 8, and you have to banish 2 to bring it back out, and then like if you have them banished, then it's nice to be able to reset those guys every now and then. We run a small trap engine, triple Void Feast. Void Feast is pretty darn cool in the aspect, like, you get it sets you up. If you're forced to go first, it sets you up for negations. If you're going second, then you can push. It's pretty darn awesome what Void Feast is capable of. And like, I didn't realize this the first off, and I thought it was a possible thing, but I finally got some confirmations that you can activate Void Seer, chain Void Feast, send Void Seer to the grave, and you get the Void Seer protection and the Void Feast resolution. It's pretty darn nice in my opinion. Next, I run double Powerwall. This is an additional dumper to go on with your Future Fusion, Grass, Monster Great, and Reasoning. What it does is when your opponent declares an attack, you send cards from your deck to the grave equal to the number of life points times 500. So like a 500, you'd send 1 card. If you would take 1,000, you'd send 2 cards, and you don't take that battle damage. So it's pretty darn nice as a responsive trap card, protective trap card that allows you to plus for your next turn. Pretty darn cool. Moving on to our extra deck, we run double Infernoid Tierra. Tiara himself is pretty darn cool. You can get, now with Future Fusion back at 1, it's been there for a while, but with the Future Fusion out, you can get all 4 effects off, and it's pretty darn cool. And he's a decent beast stick or body, just in general. Like, wherever you want to put him, he's pretty good. And once we send to the graveyard, it gives you another banishing target. So I like him at 2. This is one of my focuses. and in the pure build, it's really nice to have them like that. Moving on to our secret rows, we're going to Psy-Framelord Omega and a Crimson Blader. I like Crimson Blader here over like a second Psy-Framelord Omega because with Masterpiece still being a thing, and there's so many like decks out there that just have high-level monsters that Crimson Blader just can just take care of and help you out for your next turn. I like Justice Catastor because it's pretty easy to obtain with a Decatron and a Snow or a Decatron and Pirmais. Like it's pretty darn easy to obtain, and it's actually like as a defensive card, it's one of the best in the game in my opinion. Next we're on Phantasmalord Ultima Bishbaalkin. Bishbaalkin himself was broken in the first place in the fact that you could just spam tokens all over your field and your opponents. The problem with it nowadays is that your opponent can use those as link materials. So that's the double-edged sword in that aspect. But the thing is that if you run to that aspect where they're like, oh, they can just use it as link monster or as link materials, then you don't use it. The thing is, additionally, is that you can use them as it's all about timing. And he gains that attack. He's really great about pushing for games and being like really stalling your opponent and being aggressive. It's pretty darn nice. Moving on to our XYZs, we run a Hope Harbinger. Rerun a Galaxy Eye Cipher Dragon and a Fully Armed Dragon. It's nice to be able to steal your any opponent's monsters, but it's even better whenever you get an overlay on top of them if they're an Exceed. One Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon because we like burning. Number 101 because going for 4 is pretty easy with this deck. And this is my personal favorite. I mean, Castell's probably a little bit better, or if you put in the Utopia the Lightning package, it's a little bit better as well. Run 1 Dante because if you have 2 Harmadiks, it's pretty easy and they get more dumping going off, and Dante's always been a great card anyway. Next, moving on to our ones. This is a little bit awkward or more of an interesting deal. We're on a Princess Sprite because it helps us get to our spells easier. But we also run Lyricist Assembled Nightingale. Whatever she does, what she does is that you overlay up to 5 level 1 monsters, and that's especially what Void Imagination makes all your monsters level 1. So it's pretty easy to do that. So 2 to 5, and she can attack. She gains attack for each material times 200. So let's say you have 2 materials, she's at 400. You have 5 materials, she's at 1,000, and she can attack additionally. You attack your opponent directly for each material attached to her. So if you have full 5 materials, you attack with 1,005, or 5 times. That's 5,000 points of damage. So it's just a nice little aggression and cute little interaction that I kind of enjoy in this kind of a deck. So this is a little Infernoid 101. Each Infernoid has so many different effects that if you're like me, whenever I started, it's just it surprised you and overwhelmed you. So this is my kind of little way of remembering what they do, and this is how I built the deck accordingly. Decatron's the only one he can normal summon, and he dumps an Infernoid and gains additions according to that. But he's kind of his own little deal on the side. Every one of these other monsters have to be special summoned by banishing, and they can't be normal summoned. Onuncu and Devyaty have to banish 3 monsters from field or grave to be special summoned from the hand or grave. Attondel, or the 8s through the 5 that I don't have in here, you have to banish 2 from your hand and or graveyard, especially some of them from hand and or graveyard. And all the 4 all the way to the Pirmais, which is your other 1-star monster, have to be banished, or have to only banish 1 monster from your hand or graveyard, but they have to be banished or special summoned from your hand. They can't be brought up from the graveyard. Additionally, everything from 8 to 1 has the additional effect where you can tribute a monster in order to banish a card from your opponent's graveyard. During either player's turn, it's a quick effect, too. So you can either tribute themselves or another card on the field. So if you want to play Scapegoat or something weird like that, you can do that and make a fun little interaction. Onuncu and Devyaty have the same effect of tributing monsters, but Onuncu has the ability to negate spells or traps, and Devyaty has the ability to negate monster effects. And additionally, each one of them has their own effect that makes them unique. Onuncu is a dark hole of all other monsters on the field whenever he's special summoned. Devyaty is a heavy storm of monsters, or of spells and traps, except for void cards, which is pretty nice if you're trying to set up whenever he's special summoned. Attondel can attack twice if he destroys a monster. The second one doesn't have to be a monster. Seitsemas can banish a card on the field after he destroys a monster. Sjette can banish a card from the extra deck, but it's your opponent's choice, so it's not that great. I don't remember what the 5-1 does. Patrulea, I believe, destroys spells and traps. Yes, any spell or trap card on the field and destroys it. Harmadik destroys monsters. Antra is it can pulse. And the thing about, and then Pirmais over here, he's actually quite good. You can target a set card in the field, so it's either monster or spell or trap, as long as it's set, and shuffle it into the deck. So that's pretty maniacal in it, as it is. Anyway, so I hope that kind of gives you a rundown of the monsters for Infernoids. That this is a little guide that I use, and I hope it helps you out. And that's going to wrap up our Infernoid deck profile. This is definitely a really fun deck, and it's pretty darn competitive. Like, it's it doesn't die very easily. Ash kind of hurts the deck, but what I've seen recently is that usually in your opening hand you have two different options. You have the more aggressive play, and then you have other options to do. So like if your opponent negates something, usually you have a second option. So the nicer thing to do is try and go for the easier play, the one that doesn't hurt you as much, and let them negate that and try and match that, and then potentially go for like your grass looks greener. Because most people still only run a lower card count deck because they're not as afraid of your grass looks greener. But it's a really fun deck, and I hope to improve on it a little bit. Let me know if you have any suggestions. I've seen most people have decided to go down to a 40-card deck in Infernoids. I still just enjoy the 60 cards so much because I love the randomness and the ability to have so many more options in your deck. Void Feast actually kind of gives the deck so many just like different opportunities you can do. You can either go for the double Decatron and Sjette, or you can go for Seitsemas, or you can even go for like a weird combination that I've gone into before is with Patrulea, Harmadik, and Pirmais, and just like it's so many just weird combinations of effects, and it's like disrupts just about every single deck. So it's a great deck, and I hope you take some things from mine. And make some more suggestions of your own, and have fun with this deck, because it is a pretty darn fun deck, and they all look awesome. Anyway, thank you very much, and have a great day.